Good morning. Sorry, we're starting a little slow. I'm Alexandra. I'm the media editor at Women's Wear Daily. Put together this panel like this. Yeah, sorry. So I write about media at Women's Wear, and one of the topics I cover extensively is the crossroads between content and commerce. I have a panel here of people who come from the publishing world, and they are working a lot in this space. And I think how we're going to open it up is kind of just go down the line, and each one will give a little short presentation of what they do, how their different publications use e-commerce, and then we'll go into broader questions. So, Caitlin.
Perfect. So, hi. First off, can you guys hear me? Great. Going in the right direction already. So I'm Caitlin Weisskopf, and I'm the executive director of Shop Bazaar. And for those of you who may or may not know who we are actually an e-commerce platform built and developed by the editors of Harper's Bazaar. We, in our eyes, were the first to try this, and we're still wildly successful at this endeavor. We launched 3 years ago, and essentially we launched publisher and editor-in-chief in hand with the idea that we wanted to make what we felt the most luxury fashion magazine out there was, the most shoppable magazine out there. So Shop Bazaar essentially starts with pages in the magazine. You'll see a B, and that tells you can log on to shopbazaar.com to purchase that item. So Shop Bazaar allows you to actually purchase items directly from the editors of Harper's Bazaar. So I'm going to walk you through some of these slides to give you an idea of how you can see the credits in the magazine. What you're looking at right now are Shop Bazaar editorial pages. So these are pages completely dedicated to our e-commerce store. These are ideated with a fashion merchandising director and our lead market director on the print side, who reports directly into Glenda. So we work very, very closely in tandem with the print editors. So right here you see a page from November. We did we featured an exclusive collaboration with Pamela Love and Rita, and we were the first retailer to actually have this. Spring actually picked it up about 2 weeks after we did, which is another sort of interesting tech and mobile play. There you see a Rosie Asseling page based on social media, so again, tying back to the whole e-commerce tech experience. Oop, there it is again. And then 2 more examples of multiple brands on the style guide and another Shop Bazaar credit. And here is an example of a marketing program that we did, and I'm sure Alex will ask me some questions about native coming up, but this is what I think a very good example of what we do well at Shop Bazaar. This is a partnership with St. John, meaning this is a native advertising play. They came to us and they said, we want you guys to show our brand through the lens of the Bazaar editors. And so we did. We styled it the way we wanted to. We brought other brands in that we felt complemented the St. John brand and DNA, and this ran in the magazine in June, July of this year. And this is how it lives online. So you can see the email, then you can see the home page, and then of course the product detail pages where you can purchase. And then lastly, I wanted to show you guys a pure play editorial story that was entirely shoppable. Work the Look is another signature franchise of ours at Bazaar, and every single credit in this story, again, all shot by our editors, is available for purchase on Shop Bazaar. And again, there it is online.
Hi. I am Ann Sachs. I am the digital director for Glamour, which means I oversee the digital brand strategy for glamour.com, all of our social media platforms, as well as lipstick.com, which is Condé Nast's first spin-off site. It's a beauty site. And the editor is back there somewhere. She's lost her voice, but she's very nice and would talk to you if she could. So this is just a kind of quick look at glamour.com. The site updates about 40 times a day with original content, and a lot of that is shoppable content in context. So we don't do a whole lot of standalone shopping, but the shopping is integrated through many of our pieces of editorial content on the site. This is the lipstick index, which I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more this morning about that. But the lipstick index was launched this summer, and it's basically kind of an S&P index of beauty trends in real time. It scrapes social platforms like Instagram and Twitter, and Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook to kind of see what conversations are happening on social as well as on different websites, and it kind of ranks those trends in real time, and that's really kind of changed the way that we cover trends and products, so we can talk a little bit more about that. This is the Lipstick Vanity, which runs on the homepage of Lipstick. And these are editorial picks, and so sometimes the context is simply around an editor's passion points, and sometimes that context is around a trend or news. And this is an example of one of the more contextual models that live on Lipstick Index. And this is another look at the index, which we'll talk more about. But as you can see, these are the conversations. So when you dive into a trend that's popping on the Lipstick Index, you can see how many conversations are happening, where those conversations are happening, Pinterest, Facebook, and kind of how the trend is surging. And then there's some contextual information around it if you wanted to try the trend. And then, of course, as I mentioned, a lot of our e-commerce is contextual. So here we have 30 ways to dress up your nails this winter. And the shopping opportunities are embedded within the context of that story. There's a lot of interest in celebrity beauty trends and how to apply those trends, and so a good deal of the shopping opportunities that you'll see are integrated within celebrity coverage and then kind of complemented with an editor's picks that might work for that trend. So more to come.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Ariel Foxman. I'm the editorial director of InStyle and Style Watch, but I'm here to talk to you mainly about InStyle, though I'm happy to answer any questions about Style Watch. So InStyle, I've been the editor for the past 8 years, and InStyle currently has about 24 million people in its audience. 10 and change are coming to us primarily through print. So we do know that with our kind of trademark formula of inspiration and information, we can get women to want to shop through the pages of the magazine. In fact, a recent audit showed that 7.8 products are purchased on average by women who read the magazine every month. So we have been trying very hard and very studiously to translate that magic into digital. It's got its challenges, which I'm sure we'll talk about. The main challenge for us, and I think for our competitors, is you don't have people trapped in a space that's made for retail and content like you do in a magazine. So we've been trying all sorts of things, and like most people, we have affiliate links that allow you to shop while you're on our digital platforms, whether it's in mobile or laptop or desktop. So what you're seeing is a new module that we've built that is in the flow of the endless scroll for any of our news stories, beauty stories, or fashion stories. So we'll inspire you with a piece of content like these lipsticks, and then there's a reminder, a new module, that these are shoppable, not just the shoppable links that would be in the copy, which the arrow would be the button to press. We've also integrated all of our editorial staff, digital and print, so all departments work on everything. So when we have our editors creating content, they're thinking, what is the highest search engine term right now? What are people looking for? And so if you're making a print page, you're thinking, oh, it's the winter, we should do a boot story. As the week is changing, though, we're thinking, oh, the weather is changing, people might be looking for boots today or tomorrow, and our editors are thinking about shopping stories. And so this is an example of editors creating a boot story so that you can shop it when you go to InStyle.com. Best Beauty Buys is one of our biggest franchises. We spent a lot of equity putting this up online as an archive and then creating it so that it was shoppable because that is one of the biggest requests actually from our audience. This is a marketing program called InstaShops. We have many clients who come to us and say, can we get in on that magic, not just in the magazine, but also online? How can you create something that's very unique, that's shoppable? So this is a marketing program that's inspired by Instagram. So it has the flow of influencers and editors and other sort of shopping experts, and that you can click to buy. It also brought in print revenue and increased our traffic. It was a September program. This is really interesting. This is a story that we did the Sunday before the Target Lilly Pulitzer collaboration hit stores. So e-commerce for us is not just about clickable links, it's also about knowing when people are shopping and using that as a way to build traffic on our sites for natural search. So if people are going to be shopping for Target, Lilly Pulitzer, we do a story that's legit with great information. 64% of our natural search that day was from this story. And finally, we have a video series that Kalana Barfield, who is our editor-at-large, every day she does an I'm Obsessed, and it's about an item that she loves editorially, and right there in the module, you can buy it. So we're trying all different platforms and all different media.
Well, I was told I have the most slides, so I will be quick and succinct. I am the... Oh. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I have a faulty microphone. Can you hear me? There we go. So I am the co-founder and CEO of editorialist.com. We are probably the newest entity up on the stage right now. We're only about 2.5 years old. And I'll give you a little bit of a quick background on who we are and kind of our specific focused movement in the space. We basically launched about 2.5 years ago, and I was a former editor, as was my business partner, and we were compelled by the idea that we realized we were consuming our media almost exclusively online. We were shopping almost exclusively online. So we were looking for a formula to kind of activate that edit, which, back in 5 years ago was something that people were dipping their toe into, but no one was really sure, if that was, a very controversial mix of, church and state, or if it was a legitimate business idea. So we took the leap. We decided to launch Editorialist, which is, the idea is a hybrid of this true content meets commerce model, where you can flip through the pages of a digital magazine, click and buy instantly. So it's instant gratification for everything that you see, and it's really capitalizing on all of the great consumer demand that editorial, and strong editorial product has been so successful in creating for years and years and years. So we felt it was the more efficient model in terms of retail and also activating our edit. The way it works, and it's a little bit hard to see, is this is an example of a cover story that we did with Jessica Alba, and basically through the editorialist lens, we styled her in some of the product that we carry on the e-commerce end of our site, and some of the other products that we saw in the market that we felt was directional and important to register from an editorial perspective. And we styled her in the pieces of the season, and when it went online, it was synced with the deliveries in store. So it was that immediate gratification where you can click on, in this example, say her hat, be driven directly to a product page and execute the sale directly from there. We found that in the traditional process, when you're flipping through a regular print magazine and you see, say, a pair of shoes that you love, you have to, usually magazines shoot about 3 months ahead of time. There is a little lag between when you see it run in print, when it hits the shelves at the store, and then there's the whole friction of going down into the credit line, trying to find out, okay, this is the number I have to call, I have to go search and see if it's in this store, in this region, and in all of that friction and fragmentation, we felt there was a huge drop-off in being able to convert that sale and capture that conversion. This is some of the example of the different editorial that we do across the site. There's a mix of still life, product shots. We work with a lot of influencers to kind of get their perspective on how to style the pieces of the season and get their filter on what their style ethos is, and it offers another point of engagement for our reader. It's not just straight e-commerce, it's telling a story, and it's a little bit of an experience. And for us, we see that is, or we believe that's the direction of where things are going. Fashion is a very passionate thing. You need to tell a story, you need to engage, you need to share an experience, and through everyone that we work with, by imparting some of their sense of personal style, that's become a very compelling formula for us, and it's resulted in a very high conversion rate on our platform. We launched about a year ago a print extension of what we were doing online, so we published it twice a year. It's on newsstands nationwide. We publish 4 issues a year. All 4 are digital, 2 of them we rolled over into print. We obviously have the digital site, which is updated daily with micro trends, short lead, news blips, kind of quick who, what, where takeaways. We have the mobile iteration of our site, which is becoming a more and more viable revenue stream and also facet of our business, and also the social element, which is hugely impactful. We have a concierge that sits in-house, and the way we leverage the concierge is to kind of bridge the gap between what we carry on our e-commerce end and what we cover on our editorial. It was really important for us to keep both platforms a little bit autonomous, in the sense that if we wanted to shoot a designer who has no e-commerce presence, which a lot of the French designers, for example, don't right now, they don't sell online at all. We'll use Celine as an example. But in the magazine component, there's a new Celine bag that's very relevant and directional that we need to register for our readers. Our concierge has touch points at every store globally, so that if we shoot it and a reader wants it, they can contact our concierge and they'll connect the dots and call the store, have the bag put aside, and then they can execute the sale directly there. So look at our partners. Our focus specifically is on the luxury accessories segment of the business, and that's for a few reasons. For one, that was kind of our focus as editors when we were at various magazines. For another reason, accessories are more conducive to selling online. There's less of a fit factor for all intents and purposes. You're a consistent shoe size, bag doesn't necessarily have a size, so on and so forth. And as a result of that, we have a very low return rate on our e-commerce platform. It's about a third of what it is industry standard. So that's been a winning formula for us. And we're also, there's a lot of noise in the space. There's a lot of gray area. There's a lot of people from the contemporary end to, striving for the luxury end on the ready-to-wear end. So we really wanted to go in and own the accessory space because it is a very nuanced space. There's a lot of minutia, and we felt that it was more of an afterthought to other e-commerce plays. And that is pretty much us.
Thank you. So I'm going to ask a very basic question. And I'll go, we guess we can go down the line, and I think I can predict what people are going to say, but why should magazines sell goods when there are so many retailers out there?
I'll start. For us, we really got into e-commerce because we felt that Harper's Bazaar as an editorial brand really lent itself to the fantasy of shopping, and that we could also in turn create a commercial viability behind the products that we were featuring in the magazine. For us, again, it wasn't really about becoming a net-a-porter or becoming a shop bop. It was about providing a service to our readers that we felt was lacking in the market. As Kate just said, there's something about looking at something in print and being able to log on and actually purchase it, knowing that it came from the editors of Bazaar. And it's been an interesting challenge for us, being a publisher, now dabbling in e-commerce, things like pre-order, and being seasons ahead of the whole buy now, wear now trend is something that we're always trying to crack the code on. But we also feel like the service we provide is unlike something when you have to go into the credits and call the store. You have to search for that, let's say, Proenza bag. We're actually providing the direct link, and it has the approval from an editor.
So most of our e-commerce opportunities are through affiliate links. And part of the reason it's important for us to do it is because our consumer expects it of us, particularly across social platforms. So we have a little over 12 million followers across multiple social platforms. And so many of the questions that they ask and the comments that they post are, where do I get this thing that you just shared? So in order to, and the expectation is there's an immediate response to that question. And so we're kind of obligated to provide that for them. And affiliate links make that really easy. The opportunity that we have in print is to kind of provide something exclusive as a kind of reward for being a reader of Glamour magazine. There's a Glam for All page where we'll provide one kind of signature piece that we'll share in the magazine, and you have the opportunity as a reader to kind of get your hands on it first. So this month it's this really fun sweatshirt from a brand called Bow and Drape. And it's really cute, and it says little black sweatshirt, it's got glitter on it, it's cute. So this kind of these fun finds that that we're able to discover because we're in the market first, but we present it timing-wise exactly when the reader is engaged with it. So for us, it's kind of a combination of exclusive finds that we have the access to present, plus responding to the reader in real time in a way that they expect of our brand.
One thing, I guess Ariel could go on this. The different types, there's different models of e-commerce that publishers are using. There's affiliate links, which is, most of you probably have seen, there can be a link to another retailer when you're on the website of Glamour, let's say, or a revenue share model, or a kind of more of a true retail model where the publisher holds inventory. So maybe Ariel, you can answer the first question, and what do you guys use over at Time Inc.?
Sure. I think your first question is a really, it's not basic at all. I think that there is an assumption that now that magazines should be providing an e-commerce service, and I think it's an assumption that still needs to be tugged at and questioned. And I think from a publishing house's point of view, the assumption is, yes, we should be selling products to our consumers because we own a very good piece of that inspiration, right? So if we can drive people to commerce, shouldn't we own a piece of that money? And I think that's a legitimate question, and it's a legitimate exercise so that a corporation or a holding company can make more revenue from that point of view. From an editorial piece of the pie, I don't necessarily agree that every reader, user, consumer has the expectation that when you're in a piece of content, the onus is on the content provider to provide an entire shopping experience. I think, yes, in digital, I, as a consumer, expect, well, can I click to it? Where can I find it? I don't want you to show me something I can't buy. But we know from our audience that that's the expectation. It's not, I want this entire retail experience. I want your trusted opinion. I want your authority. I want exclusives maybe, but a scalable retail experience beyond what are the basic expectations of using the internet or using your phone, there isn't this assumption. So I think these are big questions. Like, we are moving into it assuming that magazine readers or brand fans want this, and we are told time and time again that, yes, they'll click through if they really want something, but we don't know that that's necessarily their first point. To answer the affiliate question, we have done a lot of research about holding inventory. So the moment you hold inventory, and that just means you order stuff and you wait for people to buy it, which is a very scary proposition for any shop clerk, retailer. You become a retailer, and we are not retailers. We are editors and service providers, and that has been the point of view. So we are trying. Bless you.
Thank you.
We are trying to create an experience with as much breadth and depth of affiliates, so that when you are shopping from us or reading through us, you can click to as many stores, and you're not limited to what we bought, and we have a warehouse and we need to get out, because otherwise we'll be left with inventory, which is what happens at a retailer when you get the emails that say 75% off hats, because hats may be in, but they've got hats in the back. And we don't want to be in the hat situation. So.
Can you hear me? Okay. To answer your first question, I think, I completely agree with what Ariel is saying. I think when someone logs on to an editorial site, they're not necessarily, the value proposition isn't about selling you a bunch of stuff. Then you're just a catalog. I think there is that tension between having the access to buy it if they like, but it needs to be an experience. They need to be romance. It's a little bit of it's a very passionate association, like I said before, with shopping. Especially in the US, we see there's tons of shopping power, but there's also tons of stuff. It's how do you compel that sale? And I think if you don't have a legitimate, trusted editorial voice and position, and they don't feel like you're hawking stuff at them all the time, I think that will be lost. And the most valuable asset any publisher or e-commerce has is their audience. So I think that's a really tricky and delicate relationship to massage. So in the sense of magazines getting into e-commerce, I don't necessarily think, I think everyone's trying to figure out the special sauce, and I think if there's a way to divide the two and if there's transparency, I think you're only underscoring the trust that you are building with your audience, and at the end of the day, that's going to be your currency. In terms of the affiliate versus holding inventory model, we do hold inventory on our site, and that was a very conscious decision for a couple of reasons. We really focus on the luxury end of the market, and when you're working through an affiliate, there is that point of handover to whoever you are working with on the affiliate end. And fulfillment, anyone who is in the e-commerce or retail business will tell you, is a beast. Inventory is a beast, fulfillment is a beast in terms of cost and executing it correctly. And you have one chance to make that impression with your audience and with your consumer. And if the experience isn't flawless, and especially on our end when someone's spending at a very high price point, you've lost them, and you've lost them forever. So it was really important for us to control the entire process with respect to fulfillment. Everything needs to arrive at your doorstep, and it needs to feel, like a gift. It has to arrive on time. There needs to be a consistent touch point where someone, if they need tracking information, if they need to change something out, if they want to add on to their order and style something with it, you need to be in constant contact with them. So for us, the affiliate program didn't really make sense, just considering our scope. And also for us, the margins with inventory, especially with accessories, it's the highest margin in the fashion industry, the markup on accessories, especially jewelry. So from our point of view, we really wanted to move in there and own that space and capitalize off of those margins. Whereas in an affiliate program, you're getting a small cut, and then what cuts into those margins further are your shipping, and then further is your fulfillment. So it's just a different business model.
What about for the panelists here who are working at print magazines? I wanted to know if there's any kind of conflict between the advertisers who come to you and want to advertise in the pages of the magazine and also be featured or as an e-commerce partner. Is there a line that you find that is a little bit tricky to walk? And then I will ask about the editorial side as well, but first, the business.
That's a great question, and I think very, very timely. I think the word native is a hot button of the moment. Business of Fashion published a very interesting piece just this week on this exact question, and actually ended on a positive note, which I think is an interesting way of seeing the shift in the publishing world in church versus state and all of those conversations. So I know we're talking a lot about our business models, and just so you guys know, the way that we look at Shop Bazaar is sort of two-pronged. There's the e-commerce version, which we love, and that's the e-service, what we provide to our readers, and then there's the marketing leg of it, which is what we're talking about now with advertising programs. And previously, I showed you guys the example of the St. John spread that we had in the June-July issue earlier this year. I showed that because I think it's a really strong play in the native field, and the way that it works is St. John or TBD advertiser comes to us and they say, make our brand bizarre. And St. John, let's be honest, is not going to get a full page feature or well story feature in Bazaar without paying a sponsorship fee against that. But when they come to us, sort of from this marketing native play, they're entrusting our editors with their brand. So whereas you have an advertorial, for example, that advertiser gets to dictate what collection, what items, what colors you're putting on the page. With us, we get to choose, we get to style it, we get to make it our own. So it becomes a branded content play as opposed to just a campaign. We also don't take every advertiser that comes to Shop Bazaar. We only take the brands that we feel will work, that our readers will respond to, and that they'll see some ROI on their investment. If it's not working for our advertisers and it's not working for our readers, if it's not resonating with them, it's not going to work for anyone.
How about for Anne and Ariel, when you, as editors, do you feel that is it difficult to wear a hat of a merchandiser? Do you ever feel like there is any kind of conflict of interest in that role?
I actually think native has been really kind of clarifying, and it makes the line really clear and dark and easy, because you know that this is, the reader is clear on what this is. It's still marked as sponsored. There's an understanding about what they're looking at, and as long as the reader is clear on it, I think it's okay. So from my point of view, it actually kind of takes the cloudiness away from it. It's just a really direct opportunity for the reader. And as you said, we have an opportunity to present it in a way that we know will resonate for our reader, which is really what the advertiser wants.
No, I don't think anything has changed just because we are dealing in multiple platforms. I don't think of ourselves as merchandisers, nor do our editors. We are editors, and we've always featured product. People come to us for what they know as a trusted point of view and editorial curation. Anyone who's savvy enough to understand a business model around any sort of content play knows that there are advertisers. Our editors will look to our advertisers as people who believe that our audience, our readers, are people who would be interested in their product, right? So you wouldn't advertise if you didn't think we shared an audience with an affinity. So they go into the market with the mindset that if you advertise at InStyle, whatever the platform, what you have bought bare minimum is our interest in your interest in our audience. And so we come look at your product, and to your earlier point, if it makes sense within our mix, it makes sense, but we have to love it editorially. And our advertisers know at the end of the day that if they don't have a product like InStyle with a trusted relationship with its audience, there really is nothing to advertise in. Would be a shell. So we don't really act like merchandisers. Now, on the native side, it's a very clear transaction, and it's a totally different thing. It's an advertorial thing. Someone is paying for content that looks like editorial content that's clearly marked not editorial. And those are really fun challenges, and we do them, and they're very successful. But I think it's very clear what we do and what we don't.
I have one more question, then we're going to open it up to a Q&A. But so recently, within the last 2 weeks, Lucky magazine had shuttered. It was owned by Condé Nast, spun off last year, and then taken over by an e-commerce company. And the editorial part of it basically closed, and the website doesn't exist anymore. It's called Lucky Shops now. With that kind of company in mind, how do you look at the challenges that you're each facing, and why do you think Lucky didn't work? Sorry. Anyone? Kate, do you want to start?
Well, I think focus and, like I was saying before, in being, there's so much noise in the online space, and I think it's really a challenge to carve out your value add and your focus and your frame. I think, and I'm not intimate on the details with Lucky, and I believe it was a hybrid. They were buying some inventory and also an affiliate program. And I think the scope was a little bit wide on the buy and the perspective. So I think that's the challenge for all of us in terms of what is your value add to the conversation. It's about inspiring that conversion and not just being one of the mass, and really standing out from all of the noise and the gray area online. So I think that was probably a little bit tricky for them.
What about as like Facebook and Instagram kind of get more involved in linking and selling goods? Is there any fear, or I just wanted to get any one of you just to speak on that in terms of how that could cannibalize your business or how that could impact the business? Does that?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I would be really excited if they, if our social and content app partners created more innovation around shopping. Just in the past year, we've doubled our social footprint at InStyle. We have about 9 million women who come to our content through social. So they are spending all this time and money and equity building great technological product. If it could then lift off into a selling service, wonderful. We know that people are getting a lot of their content through these feeds. So I think there is so much more friction in social than in so many other places where you would not expect it. So I would be really excited to see. At the end of the day, great content and trusted editorial is what drives people to shop, not the feed. You pick who you follow on Facebook and on Instagram. It doesn't just populate. So I would be excited to see what they deliver.
Anyone have any questions? Want to open the floor up?
Could you explain the term native?
Anyone who wants to take a stab at that? Yeah, sure.
I'll take a stab.
Go for it.
So native is basically paid content from an advertising partner, but it's not paid in the way Ariel used the term advertorial. That necessarily an advertorial would be. I look at it as more branded content, so maybe Ariel wants to answer this as well. But when I use the term native, I think of it as interpreting a brand through the lens of your editorial vision, but it's paid marketing. So you're guaranteed placement in the magazine, online, in social, if that's built into whatever proposal you purchased. But again, it's through the lens of whether it's InStyle, Bazaar, whatever publisher you're working in.
Caitlin, I'm wondering, I remember initially your fulfillment with Shop Bazaar was through Saks, and then you changed to Ukes.
Yes.
Are you still doing all of your fulfillment with Ukes, and do you think that may change in the wake of the Net-a-Porter acquisition?
You've been following Shop Bazaar. I love that. And that's a very good question. We actually didn't touch on what our business model is. We do not hold inventory at Shop Bazaar. We have retail partners and we have direct designers. We have about 8 total retail partners right now, and the rest is direct to brands like Chloe and Michael Kors. Currently, we are working with thecorner.com and shoescribe.com. Over 50% of the SKUs on Shop Bazaar come from them. We have a direct API feed, which makes it incredibly easy for us to publish those SKUs online. In the news, I don't know if you all have heard, but they're folding shoescribe.com and thecorner.com into the Net-a-Porter experience, given the merger that obviously happened and now is official as of September of this year. For us, it's business as usual. We're going to work with them through spring and markdown and see where the road takes us. Glenda and Federico are close, and we're talking about the future, and we're only excited to see what comes from it.
I'm curious, what is your average return rate?
Well, I'll let you know mine, and then Kate can let you know hers, so I can go cry in a corner. For us, it's about 30%, which is actually somewhat industry standard for luxury ready-to-wear.
Ours peaks at around 10.5%, 11%, and that's usually
Killing me.
no, it's usually around January when we're seeing a return of gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Is it due to the sizing, because it's more clothing?
Yeah, it's
Much
sizing.
higher.
People are buying multiple sizes. They're returning them. It could be any number of things.
So I think it's very exciting that you're all doing this, because you certainly are changing how we purchase and what we purchase and when we purchase. I think that's fantastic. My ultimate question is, are we moving into a world where everything is for sale? I mean, it just feels like let's just make a market out of everything. And so how do we kind of maintain that divide between some things just are not going to be part of the marketplace? Or is that a concern at all?
I'm so glad you're excited.
Oh, good spin.
And I hope we're never going to a place where everything is for sale. I think there's a conventional wisdom that because this has sort of seeped into so many new platforms and new places, which in and of itself is exciting and daunting and challenging to users and content creators and merchandisers, that people imagine the worst case scenario of what could be, right, with technology all the time. The reality is every single person here is doing the same thing that's been done for over 100 years in new platforms. The editorial integrity is exactly the same questions are being asked that were being asked a decade ago, 20 years ago. The retail model is just changing into a different platform. So the things that should not be for sale, integrity, relationships, the confusion around what the consumer is getting and the audience murkiness, none of that really has changed. In fact, because there's so much more transparency and there's so much more audience engagement with comments and sharing, you have a much more democratic marketplace. And I think it's a much more safe space for the consumer and puts more pressure on editors and retailers to do the right thing and mark what you're seeing. Now, it's unlawful to present something that is not editorial as editorial. Truly unlawful today, because it's so easy for it to be confusing for consumers, and consumers have called it out time and time again. So I hope we're not going to that place, but I do think that it's exactly what it's always been. I've been doing this sort of thing for 2 decades, and we ask the same questions and we answer them the same ways every single day. So I hope, I hope that reassures you a little bit.
Time for another one? Or? Yeah. I think we have time for another question, if anyone. Yeah.
Thank you. Hi, this is so interesting. Thank you all. I was going to ask, when I saw the St. John's native advert, I was going to it buzzed in my head because seeing Sofia Vergara wear the beautiful dress, it was in a marketing, professional fashion marketing, I thought, that's what they've got on their mind, get a younger demographic,
Exactly.
and et cetera. And then, do you ever get brands that you're like, I don't think we want to help you, not to be negative, but it wouldn't be mutually beneficial, and we're misleading our readership, meaning your readership.
Yeah, absolutely. It goes a couple different ways. Every single marketing proposal that goes out there to an advertiser has to come by my desk first for brand approval before it can even get out the door. Sometimes brands will approach us and ask us to create something for them, and we have to be very clear in terms of what the expectation is on their end in terms of leeway and editorial interpretation, in terms of styling, direction, design. However, our editors want to take that brand and look at it through the Bazaar lens. And if the brands that approach us aren't willing to give us the freedom to interpret their brand, to put it on the page and sell it on Shop Bazaar, we're not going to work with them. So we won't take just any brand. It has to resonate, again, with our DNA and with our reader.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So what are your plans for the baby boomers? There are 79 million of us that really need help. And, everybody wants to look good. We're very independent. We're vital people who don't ever want to get old. And yet we don't want to wear clothing that's made for 15-year-olds. So are any of you thinking about this demographic which has money, We actually do have money. We have professions. We're really connected. Help us.
You guys,
Good question.
you guys are my lead woman. In terms of our demo and our shopper, I always say I have two girls. I have the 35-plus woman, who is our meat and potatoes in terms of our consumer. She has a deeper pocket than the younger generation. She loves fashion, and she's passionate about getting what we're serving her in the magazine first. She's educated. And then I have my Bazaar.com girl, and she skews younger, and she's a little more aspirational. But we love the baby boomers. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.